few years ago, I made this video titled, "Those Aren't ISTP Things," where I was basically kind of ranting about people who join the ISTP groups and then ask questions like, my ISTP husband is like emotionally abusive. Is that an ISTP thing? How do you deal with, or like, bringing up topics that really have nothing to do with being an ISTP or any MBTI type. And, well, I was actually kind of recently realizing, that the Enneagram Type 9 groups have a similar problem, except instead of other people coming into the group and talking about Type 9s, it's actually Type 9s talking about themselves with topics that have nothing to do with being an Enneagram Type 9. This is an issue that I've seen with Enneagram groups in general. People who are just getting into the Enneagram, they like to talk about the Enneagram like it's the answer to everything. Like I was just kind of like scrolling through the one of the Enneagram Type 9 groups just earlier today, and I came up with a list of topics that were started in the group asking if other Type 9s can relate to these things. So I got like physical health problems. That has nothing to do with personality types. That's just like, genetics or your physical environment. It's not personality types. Are Type 9s empathetic? Okay, here's the other thing is like, if you're only looking at the Enneagram, you're only dealing with 9 types. So, if you're a Type 9 and going like, whenever somebody is down, I feel down, like, okay, that might be true of you, but that's not going to be true of every Type 9. It might just depend on whether another person uses extroverted feeling, in the same way that you do. I'm an ISTP Type 9. I wouldn't call myself empathetic. I've seen people post like, oh, hey, here's some cool mystical stuff that you Type 9s will be interested in. What on earth makes you think Type 9s are going to be like... Oh, okay, maybe some of the bad Enneagram descriptions out there probably gave you the impression that Enneagram Type 9s are mystical. Now that I think about it, I've seen that. But it has nothing to do with being a Type 9, okay? The lazy sloth Type 9 stereotype. People latch onto that. Like, oh yeah, we Type 9s are lazy. We'd rather take a nap than go outside. Like, okay, maybe that's true of you. Maybe it's true of some other Type 9s. It's not a thing that defines Type 9s. Oh, there was a discussion about whether Type 9s tend to be hoarders or minimalists, and that discussion kind of went 50-50, which kind of proves that it has nothing to do with being a Type 9. It has nothing to do with Enneagram types. Get MBTI, like MBTI, socionics if you prefer that. Factor that into the discussion. What cognitive functions do you prefer? There could be Type 9s of all kinds of different MBTI types. And that's going to factor into most of these things. Referring to self in the third person, autonomous, not willing to commit to marriage, high risk, high adrenaline activities. Yeah, these are like actual topics discussed in the Enneagram Type 9 groups that pretty much nobody else besides the people who started these topics could relate to. Being depressed all the time. That is not an Enneagram thing. It's not a personality thing. That's clinical depression. It's a psychological disorder that needs to be treated. So the Enneagram is useful for some things. Figuring out your core motivations for things, understanding some behaviors that you do that don't quite make sense to you, understanding other people's motivations. But it's not the answer to everything. There are other factors besides inner motivations or inner fears that dictate how a person behaves. There's cognitive functions, there's a person's background, their belief systems, current living environment, culture they were raised in. So, if you could take those things into account before starting a topic on the Enneagram group and saying, is this an Enneagram Type 9 or Enneagram Type whatever thing, that would be great.